Welcome back, techies. In this session, we will be discussing on tuples. A tuple is an ordered collection of elements, enclosed in parentheses. Tuples are used to store multiple items in a single variable. Tuple is one of 4 built-in data types in Python used to store collections of data. The other 3 are list, set, and dictionary, all with different qualities and usage. Also, we can say a tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. Let us see an example now. Here I have a variable called my tuple in which I am storing a tuple. As we said, a tuple is an ordered collection of elements, enclosed in parentheses. Here we have 3 elements enclosed in a parentheses. Now printing out my tuple will give a tuple. This, how simply we creating a tuple with elements. Here we are going to discuss on tuple items and its characteristics. Tuple items are ordered, unchangeable, and allow duplicate values. Tuple items are indexed. The first item has index 0, the second item has index 1, etc. Let us see the characteristics using an example. Here we have a tuple called my tuple and we have 4 items in it. Now let us print out my tuple. Here we are getting my tuple output. We can try printing out my tuple again and getting exactly same output without changing order. It means that the tuple items have a defined order, and that order will not change. Also note that, in this tuple I have repeated elements. And while printing it takes the elements as it is. It does not ignoring elements appeared multiple times. So this is our second feature of tuple, that tuple allow duplicates. Next, we can try changing an element in my tuple. Here we can change word apple in my tuple, whose index value is 0. We can try assigning word cherry at index 0. Now printing out my tuple produces an error output. And it says tuple does not support item assignment. So the third feature of tuples is that tuples are unchangeable, meaning that we cannot change, add, or remove items after the tuple has been created. Now think if you want to know how many items a tuple has, then you may go for length function. Let us move on to this. Here we have a tuple called my tuple and I wanted to know how many items it contains. Then printing out length of my tuple will give you the answer. Now let us see how can we create a tuple with single element. While we are talking about creating tuple with a single element, then you may think it is a silly job. You may think we can enter an element inside a parentheses and can create a single element tuple. But it is something tricky. To create a tuple with only one item, you have to add a comma after the item, otherwise Python will not recognize it as a tuple. Now let us see how a comma at the end makes sense. Here we have one variable declared and hold a value, which has parentheses, and inside we have an element with comma at the end. Now printing out this will give you a tuple. In the next line, let us declare a variable. This variable holds a value which contains a parentheses, and inside which we have an element without comma. Now printing out this will give us a string instead of tuple. We can verify this by using type method. As we know, type method will give us data type. So this is how we can produce tuple with single element. Now moving on, let us see the data types in a tuple. A tuple can have any number of items, which may be of different types, such as a string, integer, float, list, etc. So tuple items can be of any data type. Here we can have a tuple of string data type. Also, we can have a tuple of integer data type. And we can have a tuple of Boolean data type. Now printing out these all will generate tuples successfully. And we can also have different data types inside a single tuple. Moving on, let us learn about type method. From Python's perspective, tuples are defined as objects with the data type tuple. Here we have a tuple, and let us use type method to see the data type that we used. The output gives it as a class tuple. And this is how we can use type method to see the data type. Now let us see how Tuple Constructor uses to create a tuple. It is also possible to use the Tuple Constructor to make a tuple. Let us see how it is working. Here note the double round brackets while using Tuple Constructor. So this is end of today's session. Here we have discussed about basics of tuple. In the upcoming sessions we will be discussing tuples in detail. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. Happy programming.